Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the Dome Field Advantage podcast. And this is exclusively on the Fanatics Network. So if you're watching this, you're watching it on either YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, wherever the Fanatics Network is at, you are watching this right now. So thank you to everyone that is tuning in, that is still going to be coming in, tuning in, that's going to be watching the replay and whatnot. Real quick, before I introduce my special guest, as you can see on your screen right now, I want to quickly apologize to everybody for advertising a show last week for a preview show for the Monday night game and not delivering. I had a bunch of stuff that came up on the Wednesday, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to go through with the plans of doing a show. But luckily, we play Carolina twice a year, so for when I do still plan on bringing Kayla to the show and previewing some more Saints Panthers later on in the season. But as you can see from the big smile on my face, it's because the Saints came out of the Monday with another W. The Saints are 2-0 for the first time in 10 years, which is a wild stat because the Saints are known to be very successful. They haven't been very successful since Drew Brees retired, but now the Saints are on that undefeated streak, first time 2-0 in 10 years. It's a fantastic feeling, and getting it against a rival like the Carolina Panthers is such a fantastic feeling. But unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of negative talk because last night's game was in fact very ugly. But to help me talk about that, if you don't recognize the guy on your screen, then you've obviously never seen the World Elite podcast, and you've never seen this guy ever. He is also my backstage producer for the Dome Field Advantage podcast. So please, without any further ado, welcome my guest at this time, Sir Jordan Johnson. What's up, dude? How you doing?
No, I'm doing good. We got the dub last night, and let's talk about it.
Absolutely. So like I said, Jordan, there's a lot of people that know you, but they don't know your story. They don't know how you got into the Saints. So for what I know your story, I know everything about you, to be honest. But honestly, for those who don't know you or don't know your story about how you got into the Saints, I like to do this with the opposing fans, but I never really get a chance to do it so much with Saints fans. So real quick, while I'm still getting my notes together, why don't you tell everyone, what got you into football and what got you hooked on the New Orleans Saints?
Yeah, I was just watching football, and then I always watch the Saints with y'all every Sunday, and I just got into New Orleans Saints because of y'all. Because y'all liked them, and then y'all brought me to a bunch of games and all that, and I enjoy going to the games when we went. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was always a fun time. Is there a game in particular that you can think of that was like, I guess, your favorite one that you went to? I know you came to a lot with us. Is there one in particular that just like stands out?
I think we went to I think a Cowboys game. I think.
I think I know which one you're talking about. I think it's that Sunday night game where we just beat the tar out of them, I think.
I think so. Yeah, yeah, that was awesome. Just beating the Cowboys was awesome.
It was. So before we get into today's game, let's hop into the chat. Chat's already blowing up. And of course, one of my favorites, Tim King, the host of the Tim King Show. You can find him on the AEW Dynamite reviews, watch alongs, all the fantasy football stuff, Roto Slappers. This guy does everything for this network. So shout out to him for tuning in. Justin, miss you, dude. Would love to have you back sooner or later. Hopefully everything is going well with you. We can have you back and even talk some football if you're down to talk some football. Of course, got my sister tuning in as well. Jordan, got a big shout out from Tim. Of course, my mother's tuning in as well. Maddie Daddy's tuning in. Hey, yeah, your Cowboys are 2-0 as well. So unfortunately we don't play. I don't think we play the Cowboys do we? I'm not
I don't
sure if
think
we do.
so. I don't.
If we do, if we did, I'm not sure. I gotta look at the schedule. And then, of course, we got Nick from the Universal Wrestling Podcast also tuning in. We'll get to some more comments later. But Jordan, without any further ado, let's hop into this game, dude. This was, like I said, it was a win. It's always nice getting a win, but it's not always going to be pretty. So let's hop into our first segment. The segments are going to stay the same every single recap show, and that is my five, or I should say our five takeaways from this game. Jordan, you're my guest, so I will let you start your five all the way on down to one. You can give it as detailed as you want to give it. Five on down to one. What are some takeaways that you took from this win against the Panthers?
All right, my number five is they couldn't score when they got in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
Like like if you get to the red zone, you have to score, but then they have to kick field goals and just take your points
Right.
instead of my number four. The defense couldn't sack the quarterback. Like they was getting to him, but they couldn't sack him.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cameron Jordan was, I think, one of them getting to him and all that. My number three is Derek Carr missing open players.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My number two is defense holding them to three. Like the defense was on.
Oh yeah.
The defense was awesome last night. And
Mm-hmm.
my number one is the offensive line playing bad.
I figured that was going to be one of them at least. So, yeah. And the reason why I didn't really comment on much is because you and I kind of have the same amount of takeaways from this game. Number five, like I said, it was ugly. This was not a pretty game. Not every divisional game is going to be pretty. And this one was not pretty at all. From start to finish, it was ugly. And so my number five is, pretty clear-cut draw. It was ugly, but the Saints are 2-0 for the first time in 10 years. So if you're going to take a positive away from a sort of negative game, from what I know, I'm saying it's ugly. A lot of people can say I'm being negative from a positive, the Saints winning. I know some teams are 0-2, and a lot of people could wish that they were in the same position that we are right now, being 2-0. But it's just still so much to criticize, unfortunately. And yeah, it was not the prettiest win. So number four is if honestly, it is not a Saints fan. It's honestly not a Saints game if they're not sending you into cardiac arrest until the clock hits all zeros. And I say this because the Saints were up 20-9 on Carolina's final offensive drive and played so soft. And I was screaming. I was legit yelling at the TV. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, it's only 20-9. This is not a blowout. If they score a touchdown, get a 2-point conversion, in which they did, then they're only down 3 points. And if they get an onside kick, they can go down the field and kick a field goal and bring it to overtime, or they can do even better and go score a touchdown. So it's the defensive playing call that was just making my heart beat just a lot faster than what it should have. So it's not a Saints game if they're not sending you into near cardiac arrest until all those numbers hit zero. It was just frustrating to watch it. But like I said, going back to number five, it's still a win. So if you're going to take something from that, then yeah, it was a win. Number three is that with Jamal Williams going down, which Dennis Allen did say that Jamal Williams is going to need some time to recover from his hamstring injury, it's time to start searching the free agent room. And I say this because our only active running back right now that is not dealing with an injury is the one who scored our only 2 touchdowns last night, Tony Jones Jr. Because Kendre Miller he's still yet to play a regular season snap. Alvin Kamara is still out with a suspension. One more game, which thank God it's only one more game against Green Bay. But then, honestly, who do you have after that? You were forced to play Taysom Hill, who's your third string quarterback. You were forced to play him as your backup running back. So I know today I saw Kareem Hunt was meeting with the Browns. Unfortunate injury to Nick Chubb. That was just so hard to watch. I couldn't even bear to watch the replay of that. It was a gruesome injury. I wish him the best with his recovery. So Kareem Hunt is visiting with the Browns today. if I'm gonna say another name, because Kareem Hunt was a name on my list before he went meet with Cleveland. If I'm gonna say another name, why not bring Leonard Fournette home? Fournette is from LSU, from Louisiana. I'm honestly sure that that a dream of his is to play for the hometown team, like the Saints. He played for the rival with the Bucks. He played in Jacksonville, so why not bring him home just to play for a little while with us? I'm not sure if he'll last the rest of the season with us. Jamal Williams isn't out the whole year. Kamara's coming back, and sooner or later, Kendry Miller is finally going to be active for this team. I've been calling on him as someone I wanted to watch for the last 2 weeks, and he still hasn't played. So if you're going to call somebody, if it's not Kareem Hunt, because if he signs with Cleveland, then it's got to be Leonard Fournette. It would be nice to see Fournette in that black and gold. Number 2 is that the Saints, they're quietly having one of the best wide receiving trios in the league. And this is Chris Olave, who Chris Olave, in my opinion, as much as the star power that Michael Thomas has, honestly, Chris Olave is playing with more of that star power on the field than Michael Thomas is right now. And, Michael Thomas is not dealing with an injury. He's fully healthy. And he is making plays. You saw that catch last night that was rolled out of bounds, but it was rolled a catch. It was a fantastic catch. But Chris Olave, of course, had to one-up him and do that tipped catch as well. And I believe that was the spark for the Saints, or that they needed, was that tipped catch by Chris Olave. So Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, and I believe that third-headed monster is Rashid Shaheed. This guy is fantastic. He made a big play in week 1 to seal the win for the Saints against the Titans, and they're doing the same thing with him in the game against Carolina. He broke away, and honestly, I would like to hear the mic'd up version of the video from Derek Carr to Rashid Shaheed, probably telling him just to run again, because it seemed like all he did was he ran. And he's a speedster. He was able to get past the defender and was able to make a big play. So, yeah, the Saints are, honestly, they are quietly having one of the best receiving trios in the league by far right now. And it's just hard to tell that, because Derek Carr, like you mentioned, has so many missed opportunities. He is so tough to watch in the red zone because, all right, for one, Derek Carr in the red zone is something that we knew what we were getting out of him from Vegas. He struggled, and he's struggling right now. But the thing is, he's working with a new team. He's working with a new roster, a new set of guys. I'm not expecting him to figure it out in just 2 games. So while I want to sit here, while I want to complain about Derek Carr, I just can't do it right now because he's working with new guys. So I'm gonna give it some time. These red zone struggles are going to go away at some point. But I mean, it's got to happen soon, because last week we played Tennessee, and this week we played Carolina. We're taking on Green Bay this weekend. But those opponents, I mean, yes, the Saints have one of the easiest schedules in the league. So I'm not saying, like the toughest opponent is going to be coming at you, because they're really not. The Saints have honestly a very easy schedule. So I'm not really concerned about, we're going to get destroyed by this team, or, we're going to blow this team out. But Derek Carr has got to figure it out, because if you want these guys like Olave, like Mike, like a Shaheed to all shine, and even your tight ends, because I don't even think the tight ends are shining yet, because you got Foster Moreau, who finally got a couple catches last night after going catchless last week. Jawan Johnson, who this guy is it. He hasn't found his stride yet. And Jimmy Graham, and he's 2 weeks in, he's still yet to record a catch. So I don't know. I wish Derek Carr would figure it out sooner or later, because the mistakes are going to pile up. And honestly, I think his biggest flaw right now, other than the red zone offense, is these throws he's making. He's floating it too much. Look at the interception from Von Bell last night, who former Saint. I still love Von Bell, and even though he's playing with our rival team, that was an easy interception for Von Bell. It was just a floater. I mean, he threw a floater into triple coverage. You can't do that. So I'm hoping Derek Carr, he fixes these mistakes, and he learns from it, and just gets better. And number 1, I think I think it's pretty clear cut dry what my number one is. Same as yours. Our offensive line stinks. It is awful. The Saints offensive line is something that was in years past was looked at as one of our biggest strengths, and now it's easily our biggest weakness. It's just awful to watch. Like, all right, Trevor Penning for a second straight week. This guy is a liability. He's getting body slammed on the ground, and it was unfortunate the body slam he took. It went in to Shaq Thompson, who now is probably out for the year. They said, which is it was also unfortunate. Then you have a guy like Cesar Ruiz, who's a first round pick. You got Ryan Ramczyk, who's getting beat. These are all first round picks, and they're all getting beat. That's something that cannot happen. So if you want Derek Carr to shine, like I mentioned on my number 2 takeaway, then that offensive line has to give him a chance to make a play because they're not giving him that chance whatsoever. He's snapping the ball, and the defenders are already right there ready to sack him. So there were so many chances last night the Saints had, I think, to score and to really, make some noise in Carolina, more than what they made, but the offensive line did not help them, unfortunately. So I wish I could have been more positive with the takeaways, but I think the most positive takeaway, I'm going to say it over again, is that we won. And some teams out there are 0-2 right now fighting for that first win. And we're just lucky to say that we haven't lost yet. And also, shout out to the defense, because I read a stat earlier, and I think that is a very impressive stat. I think in the last 10 games, the Saints have allowed, I think, 20 or less points in 10 straight games. And this is dating back to last season. And 2 teams in there were battling in the NFC Championship game. So you can look at opponents and say, oh, I mean, the Saints played nobody, of course they're going to hold them to 20 or less points. But 2 of those teams played in the NFC title game last year. So that's a very impressive stat. So the defense is the true unsung hero of this game. They are playing outstanding football. It was going to be tough to sack the quarterback. Bryce Young is a mobile quarterback. I stated before in the past that the Saints do struggle with those rookie quarterbacks and the mobile quarterbacks, and it just so happens that Bryce Young is both of them. So of course he was able to move on this feed. Cam Jordan couldn't get to him. Carl Granderson now got to him a couple times, and Demario Davis, someone who I heavily praise a lot, was able to get to him as well. So yeah, defense absolutely fantastic. So now let's get to our offensive and our defensive player of the game. We're going to start with the defense. I said the defense is the unsung hero. Yeah, there we go. The defense was the unsung hero of this game. So I want to lead it off with defense. Jordan, who was your defensive player of the game?
I got Demario Davis. 7 tackles and a sack.
That's a good choice. Okay, good. Yeah, the Saints don't play the Cowboys at all. So, okay. You guys think about Bryce Young not being able to... Yeah, and I also saw a video of Bryce Young, which I think is crazy, that he didn't even know where to line up under center. He lined up, and the center was to the left of him. And so I think either Miles Sanders or whoever was the running back had to kind of nudge him over. So I mean, for one, he's still a rookie. I mean, give him a chance. I respect Bryce Young. I went into last night's game with, I think, 0 trash talk to say about anybody from Carolina. It's a rivalry game, but I mean, they're 0-2. They're the only winless team in the division right now. Atlanta and Tampa Bay both being 2-0 as well. So they called us the worst division in football, and 3 out of the 4 teams are undefeated. So, I mean, something to say about that. And yeah, the offensive line was unacceptable. I 100% agree. Yeah, they were bad. So yeah, my defensive player is also Demario Davis. Yeah, he played fantastic. I mean, if you're gonna talk about other people on the defense, I'll either bring up Brian Bresee, which is our rookie defensive tackle, who, man, this guy can make a play. I mean, whenever the quarterback snapped the ball, this guy's making a play. And seeing that 2 games into his rookie career, He's going to have a fantastic year and a fantastic just career with us. And another guy, Carl Granderson. Carl Granderson, if the Saints don't pay him, somebody will. So I'm hoping the Saints are the ones to pay him. But I mean, if he doesn't, he's going to make bank somewhere. This guy is a legit animal on the football field. So he's awesome to watch. But yeah, Demario Davis is just someone, and at his age, is playing fantastic football. Since Drew Brees, I think Demario Davis is easily the best free agent signing in Saints history. And the reason why I'll put Drew number one is because, I mean, Drew Brees is Drew Brees. I mean, there's no putting anybody over Drew Brees. But Demario Davis is a clear number two. This guy is absolutely fun to watch. He's a playmaker, and every time the ball's there, he's right there with it. So now we get to the offense. The offense was something that, like we mentioned, it wasn't fun. It was ugly, but there are people that make plays. So 2 guys on that screen right now. I know there's a few more that make plays. So, Jordan, who you got?
I got Chris Olave with 6 catches for 86 yards. That's what I saw.
Yeah, that was the stats. Yeah, and I also put him as well. So I think a no-brainer right there putting Chris Olave. And I had Michael Thomas, and I even had Tony Jones Jr., but I erased it. I put Chris Olave, and I think the exact time where I erased both of those names is after that catch. That catch was I mean, it was easily one of the catches of the year. And we're 2 games in. So I know there's going to be a lot of fantastic catches. You know, every team possibly is going to have a fantastic catch. I'm just happy that we were able to do ours in week 2. So Chris Olave is a fun player to watch. He's going to continue making great catches. And the same thing for Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas made a fantastic catch, and they even rolled it out of bounds at first. But you know, luckily we didn't even have to use a challenge on that. The refs ran and they reviewed it themselves, and they said, yeah, it was a catch. I mean, because if you land with your butt, I think that counts as 2 feet right there. So luckily, yeah, it didn't result. I think it resulted in a field goal because we couldn't score shit in the red zone. But of course, Michael Thomas and Chris Olave both made fantastic plays. So let's get to our last one. And this was a fun one, but I think there's only 2 that you can really choose from this game. So let's get to, okay, before I even get to that, yeah, it's good you popped it up, but I got to answer this real quick. And why isn't Taysom trusted to be the starting quarterback? Okay. I've seen Taysom at quarterback. I've seen him when Jameis went down. I just can't trust him. And I say this because I've watched enough Saints games and I've seen him play strictly quarterback. He's good at everything, in my opinion, but being a quarterback. So he's listed as a quarterback, but he plays every other position so much better than what he actually is. So no wonder why the Saints converted him to a tight end before, I think, last season. Because he's not a great quarterback. But due to the suspension from Jake Haener, who he's going to be out for another 4 games because his violation of PEDs. I don't know why a 3rd-string quarterback has to take PEDs if you're going to sit on the bench the entire season, which I think is absolutely stupid. But Taysom had to be moved to that 3rd-string role. But we're seeing Taysom on the field a lot more than we're seeing our 2nd-string quarterback, Jameis Winston. But because Taysom it's a Swiss Army knife. He can come on the field, he can make a play, but I don't trust him as a quarterback. So I hope that answers the question to my best ability, because he's not a great quarterback. He's great at everything else. He's a great running back. He's a great wide receiver, tight end, everything else. He's great on special teams. He's just not a good quarterback. And for one, I love Taysom. And this is not a knock to him as well. It's just a reason why the Saints moved him to tight end last season. It's because he's not good at the position he was. So yeah, play the game. All right, this, like I said, they have 2 on there right now that I think should be the only candidates for play of the game. It could be the fumble that I think I'm trying to think who recovered it. The Saints recovered it, but then they lost it again, and then we recovered it again. So I think that's another, I think, candidate for play of the game because it was a
I
turnover.
know who. I know who. If the fumble you're thinking of, I think it was just one fumble. I think. Yeah, I think it was the what's his name? Adebo. He
Uh,
picked it up.
yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. It was the only fumble for the Saints. It was the one where I think Bryce Young tried to scramble and we would tackle him and he fumbled it and they
Yeah.
showed his parents' reactions and whatnot. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. It was a Debo. Okay. But yeah, I for one, a Debo, he's not impressing me right now, unfortunately. So um, he's getting beaten coverage. He's making bad penalties. To last night, you know, very crucial penalties. So I think I narrowed it down to two. The two you see on your screen. If you watch the game, you know what play I'm talking about. So Jordan, I think I know where we're heading with this. So what's your play of the game?
I got Chris Olave with the one-handed tip pass to him. That was an awesome catch.
Yeah, and honestly, as great as a catch as it was, I think it was a turning point for the offense. I
Yeah.
really think the offense woke up after it. The offense was dead in the water, and then this play happens, and then they just absolutely explode. So I think as great as a catch as it was because it was, and I didn't watch Sports Center today. I'm not sure if it landed on the top 10. I'm not sure if where it was or anything like that. I have to go back and watch Sports Center on the ESPN app if I can get on it. But yeah, it was a fantastic catch. And as much as I love
Mhm.
Michael Thomas, I love and as much as I love that catch, Chris Olave is a different animal right now. This is the second time leading in receiving for the season. He went over 100 last week, and then he goes 86 of this week. Man, this guy is going somewhere with us. And this is two Ohio State products right here with Olave and Michael Thomas, and they are playing fantastic together. I've been waiting to see these two guys together, and finally we're seeing it, and it's so fun to watch. So getting into the preview for the Packers. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it as a live stream yet. Schedule's kind of iffy right now for tomorrow because I am slated to go on tomorrow. If I do not do it, then I will do it as an upload. I may upload it sometime this week, sometime during the weekend. But whenever I have that answer, I will post it on my social media so people can be watching out for it. So if you don't see me here tomorrow, then you will see me talking Packers and Saints for an upload for the Fanatics Network. So check that out at some point. But that will do it for this recap episode of the Dome Field Advantage podcast. Of course, you can find me on let's see, Twitter, X. I'm not sure which one I want to go with today, but you can find me on one of those at Dylan Aber _. You can find the Fanatics Network at the Fan ENT. I believe it's the same handle on Instagram. I could be wrong, but it's in the link for this description of this video. So if I got the handle wrong, then go in the description of this video. The right one would be there. Jordan, where can we find you at, man?
You can find me on X at Jordan_J2000.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Jordan, this was fun. I do plan on having you back a lot more often for recaps. I can even bring you on for some previews. We can talk with whoever we bring on for those. And yeah, we didn't really get lucky so much. We got lucky in the end because we got soft on defense. So yeah, well, thank you, Kayla, for tuning in as well. Check out Outrage Control every Sunday. Her and Dango do fantastic things on there. Their last episode was fantastic, so check them out as well. Check out everybody on the Fanatics Network. This network is absolutely stacked with just talented content creators. Whether if everyone talks sports, we can talk entertainment, we can talk fantasy sports, we can talk. I mean, whatever. Wrestling, just everything. Just talk it all. So that'll do it. So like I said, whenever I figure out what I'm going to be doing, whether it's a live stream upload, I'll be sure to let everybody know what I'll be doing for it. But Once again, Jordan, do you have any other words before we wrap things up?
Oh no, this is a good one, and thank you for bringing me on.
Absolutely. And thank you to everyone who tuned in for today's episode. Thank you to everyone if you're watching the replay right now. Thank you also for tuning in. And whether you see me on live stream, upload, I will always be here on the Fanatics Network. So until then, guys, y'all have a great day. Have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you next time.